emotions, but I'm not an expert. But when I decided to write the book, I set time limits for myself. So what I did is I would go to Starbucks every day, and I would bring a legal pad. I did it the old-fashioned way. I brought a legal pad, and I gave myself a 2-hour time limit. I actually brought a timer. And I'd have a lot of coffee, and I would just write. I have a really good memory. I'm blessed with a good memory. And then I gave myself a 3-month deadline. And I did it before the 3 months. And I wrote the book. And as I said, the book took off. I'll tell you some sweet things that have happened to me. I mentioned Ed Duglow here. He contacted me. He read my book. My wife and I are going to have dinner with him and his wife. I got an email 3 weeks ago. Guy sends me an email. He says, "Hey, you remember me? My name is so-and-so. My father was the bookie on Division Street." I said, "Yeah, my father used to book bets with your father." He said, "We never met." He said, "I just retired from the Chicago Police Department." He said, "We're going out for dinner." And I keep getting emails like that. It's very moving for me. People, I got one about 5 months ago. A guy calls me up, he says, "Kenny, we went to grammar school together." In our day, we called it grammar school. I guess they call it elementary now. So we went to grammar school together. He said, "I read your book, someone told me about it. Do you ever come back to Chicago?" I said, "Actually, I own a condominium on Lakeshore Drive. I come back all the time." He said, "I'd love to see you." He was a Polish guy. He said, "What we'll do is we'll have the Polish guys at this table, the Jewish guys at this table." And I said, "Where are we going to meet?" And he gives me the name of this suburb, way, if I heard it, I'd remember. Way west on Lawrence Avenue.
Norwich?
What's it called?
Norwich, Shul Park?
Yeah, that's it. So I said, give me a map quest. So he sends me the map quest, and attached to the map quest is comments from customers. He inadvertently sent it. One guy says, "Don't eat there, the food is horrible." The next guy said, "When you walk in, you're going to want to barf. It's so filthy." Anyway, but we went there, and I brought 4 Jewish guys with me, and he brought about 6 Polish guys, and there was a lot of crying. We took pictures, and so during the lunch, I go into the restroom, and there's a big guy, big tough Chicago guy in the restroom. He said, "What's with all the crying and the hugging?" I said, "I haven't seen these guys in 60 years. He starts crying. So, you know, I wouldn't trade the way I grew up for anything. I grew up with some just really great people. These are the guys, to use my expression, I'd want in my foxhole. The parents were the best. No Dr. Spock. They just loved their kids. And but tomorrow's going to be the highlight. Tomorrow I'm going to be at my high school, and I'll talk to the children, and I'll tell them how if I did it, they could do it. Anybody else have anything? Yeah, yes, ma'am.
What can you tell us about this picture?
I'm in it. Well, we were 16 years old. I belonged to a club. We're a bunch of young thugs, but it was actually a social athletic club. Not bad kids, but we were wild.
What was the name of the club?
Cavaliers.
Oh, yeah.
From Roosevelt.
From Roosevelt. Yeah, we had a bad reputation. So we would, once a week, we'd go to the Max Strauss Center, you remember, in Albany Park?
Yeah.
And we'd play basketball. And then we had a counselor, and we'd meet. I don't know what he told us, trying to keep us out of jail. So we took this picture. And these guys that you see in that picture are Hall of Fame people. I'm talking just quality people. And they came from nowhere.
You know, one thing, you're going to talk to Ed Roosevelt, as you were a product of foreign-born parents, I bet you about 90% of those kids are come from foreign-born parents.
Today?
Yes.
Absolutely. I was there in May. This is the second time I'll be speaking. I didn't see one white face.
Yeah.
All children of color.
Yeah.
Puerto Rican, black, sweet kids. It's a very tough neighborhood now, by the way.
My wife grew up a block away.
Really?
Actually. Eastwood dead ends into the Roosevelt campus.
Well, I lived on Eastwood, and toward the end of, where do you live?
Eastwood and Albany.
What's the address?
Eastwood and Hamlin, 3746.
You were the other way.
Right.
You were west.
You were by
a little
Strauss.
east.
Yeah, well, I grew up on Division Street, but when I came home from Korea, my folks moved to Eastwood. So, do you remember Maury's hot dog stand on Leland? Or Lawndale?
Lawndale,
Lawndale.
Lawrence.
I had a couple of mentors in my life, and that's why I want to talk to the kids, because I remember these guys would tell me things that would stick in my mind all these years. I'm now 73 years old. I remember what they told me. One of them was an Italian janitor. His name was Passavento. There's a man I just met here tonight, right here, who went to Crane High School with his son. But this man, Passavento, I remember I'd be a little kid, and in the winter, I used to belly flop, remember we used to do that with the sleds and the snow. So I'd come back to my apartment. By the way, I never knew anyone owned a house until I was 20 years old. I don't know about you. Houses were in the movies. So I come back from belly flopping, and I'm covered with snow, and I walk into the vestibule, and there's this janitor, sweetest guy. His name is Passavento. He was an immigrant from Sicily. And he put his arm around me, and he said to me, listen to me, you go to college. Don't let me down. You go to college. He said, because, if you're rich, you can lose your money. If you're healthy, you can lose your health. But you'll never lose the education. He kept pointing his head. To this day, I remember it. The other one was Maury, who owned the hot dog stand on Lawndale, put 2 boys through Harvard from that hot dog stand. So he was my buddy. I'd come to him when I was driving the cab. I'd be depressed. I thought I couldn't make it. And he kept telling me, push, push, don't quit. So I have some very fond memories there. Yes, sir.
Last weekend was my 50th reunion from Von Steuben.
Mazel tov.
And I know you know where Von Steuben is.
Of course.
And I've had the good fortune to go back the last 4 years as an alumni teacher. And you spend one day with one teacher, and as the class rotates, you talk about your experience is in high school for me, 50 years. You have people that graduated 10 years ago. Von Steuben was 99% Jewish.
I remember.
And I think there might have been 2 faces in the whole school that weren't white.
Right.
When you walk in today, it's a very similar experience to what you're going to find at Roosevelt in terms of the ethnic.
Absolutely.
But it's a fascinating experience.
Yeah, fascinating, fascinating. When I walked in, I'll tell you one more story.